What's up everyone, OJ here. Welcome back to another video. Today we're going to be going over my top 10 Nintendo RPGs of all time. Remember guys, this is going over Nintendo first party or exclusive RPGs. All of these are owned by Nintendo when it comes to the IP rights. But before we get into that, please make sure you hit that like button, subscribe if you're someone new, and click that notification bell to get my videos first. Now with that out of the way, let's go ahead and jump right into it. Starting off at number 10, Paper Mario: The Thousand Year Door. This is easily one of the best GameCube RPGs because there wasn't a lot of GameCube RPGs out there, but this one kind of stood above a lot of the other ones out there just because it had a great style. The writing in Paper Mario games are always fantastic. The graphics in the game with the paper aesthetic looks really cool and has actually stood the test of time. I think that even now to this day, you can fire up Paper Mario: The Thousand Year Door on your GameCube and it'll look pretty good, especially if you're playing it on a CRT progressive scan TV. But outside of the looks and the writing, the gameplay is top notch. The RPG mechanics are still really fun. I think that it has a nice hook to it. I like the characters and the powers and the abilities that you get. So at number 10 is Paper Mario: The Thousand Year Door. Number 9, Fire Emblem: Path of Radiance. This is probably my favorite old school Fire Emblem game because this game does so many great things. The story is fantastic, the difficulty is blistering but fair, the characters are also really cool. There's a lot of depth in there when it comes to going around on the maps and talking and finding every single little nook and cranny in order to level up your team and get the best abilities and do the best that you can without losing any party members. Because remember, this is old school Fire Emblem. There isn't any type of casual mode or anything like that. If somebody dies in battle, they're gone for good. So you have to restart or just go forward without them. So I think that Fire Emblem: Path of Radiance kind of really puts together all of the best of old school Fire Emblem, a little bit of touch of new stuff as well, kind of before its time, and also just adds, once again, one of the best strategy RPG gameplay combat systems out there with the mechanics and with the upgrades and the leveling. It really is great. So one of these days, I hope we can get a Fire Emblem: Path of Radiance and also Radiant Dawn remasters on modern hardware. Number 8, Advanced Wars: Dual Strike. Now, while the newest Advanced Wars games 1 and 2 Reboot Camp are taking forever to come out, you guys can go check out this old school Advanced Wars game that still plays great to this day. I remember playing Advanced Wars so much. It was like the perfect pocket RPG out there. It was a nice little change up and mix up from what I usually knew, which was Fire Emblem back then, but added in some really cool playful war mechanics and everything. The dual strike mechanic with the commanders that you have was really good, and overall the different type of units that you can get combined with the story and the superbly crafted maps and gameplay made Advance Wars Dual Strike one of the best RPGs Nintendo has ever put out, as I'm patiently waiting for Advance Wars 1+2 Reboot Camp on the Nintendo Switch one of these days, right? Number 7, Mario and Luigi: Bowser's Inside Story. So once again, a super fun RPG here and very different from Paper Mario: The Thousand Year Door in some respects. I think that Mario and Luigi: Bowser's Inside Story really took the writing when it comes to a portable RPG to the next level, and it was cool to see how Bowser really just played a part in this whole overarching thing with Mario and Luigi and the plot heading into it. Like, it really was kind of crazy. I remember when they first started talking about it, I was like, is this even going to work? But man, did it work. And on top of that, the gameplay is just top notch. I love the gameplay in these Mario and Luigi games. I think that it just fits for what they're trying to do. I like the different upgrades that you get. I love the level design and the stories that kind of take you through all these different places in there. Mario and Luigi: Bowser's Inside Story is so good, and while the game did get a great remake on the Nintendo 3DS not too long ago, it would be awesome if they could advance the series forward with a brand new Mario and Luigi RPG on the Nintendo Switch one of these days. But for right now, we're just gonna have to go with Mario and Luigi: Bowser's Inside Story as one of the best Nintendo RPGs of all time. Number 6, Super Mario RPG. Yes, the original Super Mario RPG, one of my favorite RPGs of all time, and definitely an RPG for the record books, because Super Mario RPG does a lot of the stuff that you see in the other RPG games. The writing is fantastic, the puns and the different type of, plays on other stuff is really good. But what I loved about it is that it was with Square Enix. And the gameplay in terms of how the game works and the level design, and even having Geno as an extra character and some of the extra bosses that you can fight, it really kind of oozes a little bit of that Final Fantasy style. So I can't say enough good things about Super Mario RPG. Yes, it's a little bit light on the mechanics and the upgrades. There are definitely other Mario games that maybe go a bit more in depth, but Super Mario RPG was one of the first games out there that let you have Mario, Bowser, Princess Peach all on the same team fighting, and of course a bunch of cool new characters like Mallow and Geno as well. It was dope to see Mario interact with these characters that are clearly not quite the same from what you'd expect in a Mario RPG or a Mario game. So back in 1996 or so when that came out, it blew me away, and that's exactly why it's number 6 on my list. Number 5, Xenoblade Chronicles Definitive Edition. Xenoblade Chronicles Definitive Edition is the perfect version of the original Xenoblade Chronicles. So that's the reason why I included the Definitive Edition in there. Now, this game has tons of content. They even included the extra part that was cut out of the original game. But beside all of that, the story in Xenoblade Chronicles is absolutely fantastic. I think that even still, when you go back and play it and you hear the music pop up and everything, it just gives you great nostalgia vibes, but it's still a very playable RPG with its auto attack battling system, with its arts as well, being able to switch to different characters and have different roles, a bunch of different equipment and customization. Xenoblade Chronicles is one of the most in-depth RPGs out there and has one of the best gimmicks with the Monado and being able to change the future that's baked right into the core gameplay of it, which keeps you learning new skills, keeps you guessing, keeps you just wanting to go on, defeat more, bigger, and badder monsters out there, and improved quality in addition to extra content and also quality of life options all included in there that sometimes made the original kind of difficult to play at times. So you can't really go wrong with Xenoblade Chronicles Definitive Edition at number 5 on my list. Number 4, Pokemon Diamond and Pearl. Pokemon Diamond and Pearl was my first foray into the competitive battling online scene, because that's where it started. I always loved to play the Pokemon games competitively, starting off at the very beginning with Red and Blue, then to Yellow, and then to Gold and Silver. But those were all locally. You couldn't really do anything outside of that. It wasn't until Pokemon Diamond and Pearl where you can take that and you can take it to the world of online, all baked and built in right to that small Nintendo DS Lite that I had. And I even had voice chat as well when you were playing online or trading with your friends. You had wonder trades, you had regular trades, you had online battling, you had doubles, you had all sorts of stuff that you can do. This was a revolution for the Pokemon franchise when it came out back in 2006, 2007. I was floored with the amount of options, the variety of Pokemon, the different abilities that you can do, the amount of ways to dispatch your foes was just absolutely incredible. And I think that the modern end of what the Pokemon company was trying to do all kind of started with the online era with Pokemon Diamond and Pearl. Still to this day, one of my favorite new generations of Pokemon in terms of what they announced new Pokemon wise. Some of the best designs are in Pokemon Diamond and Pearl, which recently did get the remake, but I decided to include the original because of how floored I was when that game came out, and there was some stuff removed from the original game, especially if you include Pokemon Platinum, so I decided to go with the original games, and I think that it's well deserving of number 4 on my list. Number 3, Astral Chain. Astral Chain has made it all the way up to number 3 on this list, and with good reason. This is by far one of the most innovative and best new IPs I have ever played at release. It does everything right from a gameplay perspective. There are so many options in this game, and I think that the unique mix of being able to call out a Legion and have that Legion fight on its own, but also directly control its movement in addition to what skills it uses, on top of balancing yourself and fighting and doing different things and having a weapon that transforms into different types. So you don't have to change the weapon completely, it just kind of transforms. So it just creates this unique euphoria, this unique feeling of goodness gracious, I am pulling off all this really cool stuff, and it just flows. And especially with the different legion switching, some of my favorite things in the game are to put out a legion, I'm fighting, I'm beating up enemies, put out a legion, unleash the legion or unchain the legion, put out another one, and have two of them fighting right there while I'm beating up on the same enemy. It's really cool. You can do combo attacks. It kind of just creates like this party RPG atmosphere when it's really not, you know? And people will sit there and argue with me over and over whether this is an RPG or not, but the same guy who directed Nier Automata, which is definitely an RPG, directed this game as well. And there's so many little things here and there that you can see from that, from the hit points kind of popping out everywhere, from the experience that you collect, from all of your legions being able to be upgraded and leveled up with their own skill trees and everything. It's far more RPG than the classification on Nintendo's website will give it as just an action game. So for that, Astral Chain gets to number 3 on my list. Number 2, Fire Emblem Awakening. Now, I'll be honest here, guys. Fire Emblem Awakening might be a little bit controversial for some people, considering some of the older Fire Emblem games and even one of the newer ones with Fire Emblem Three Houses. But I already picked Path of Radiance, so I wanted to put Fire Emblem Awakening on here. And the reason why I'm putting it on here is because to me, it was a revelation for the series. This is the reason why Fire Emblem is still around at this point. If this game didn't do well, if this game was not successful, we might have never gotten Fire Emblem Three Houses, Fire Emblem Engage coming out, all the new Fire Emblem games that have came out since then. We would have not gotten any of those, and we don't know where we would be. We don't know where Intelligent Systems would be after this. So Fire Emblem Awakening was that catalyst, and it's still really good to this day. You can go boot it up. The story is absolutely fantastic. I love the main character, Robin. Great character that can use magic in addition to swords as well as a tactician. I think that the gameplay with it in terms of having pairs and being able to attack units in that type of way is really good. And I love the map design. Still to this day, I love the fact that you have that overworld map and you can kind of go to different places from there. That's still my favorite way for them to have a map system. So I would love for them to kind of get back to that if they can in future Fire Emblem games, or at least even a remake or a high quality remaster of Fire Emblem Awakening would be really cool to kind of pay homage to what made Fire Emblem continue on, because it's that important of a game. And personally, as my own personal life, like, it helped save me. There was a time I was very low point in my life, and if it wasn't for Fire Emblem Awakening coming along and a lot of you guys that encouraged me, there's no way that I'd even be here doing what I'm doing right now. So I have to give Fire Emblem Awakening number 2 spot on my list. And at number 1 is Xenoblade Chronicles 3. And I hopefully am not falling victim to recency bias, but I honestly feel that any RPG that I can play for 200 hours straight over the course of a month and be thoroughly blown away to every time I get to a new location, every time that I get to a new place, every time that I see something different, every time that I get a new ability, the Uroboros, whatever it is, I was constantly floored by what this game brought to the table. When people talk about peak fiction, this is it. When people talk about a finely crafted story from developers who truly care, this is it. When people talk about a modern end JRPG that plays by its own rules and decides to create something that no other developer has done to this point, this is it. Because you just don't see RPGs out like Xenoblade Chronicles, and especially with Xenoblade Chronicles 3, with its seamless open world battles in addition to fantastic class changing dialogue, customization, weapons that you can use. It's just one of those games that I constantly think about over and over and over. And as I was playing and putting together this list, which I'm still playing the game to this point because new DLC came out and everything, as I was putting together this list, I was like, what is the game to me that kind of did the most things right when it comes to graphics, gameplay, innovation, story, music, presentation? And Xenoblade Chronicles 3 constantly averaged out as the highest out of all of these games every single time that I looked at it, because that's kind of how I saw things. So it's for those reasons why Xenoblade Chronicles 3 deserves the #1 spot on my list. So, what are your top 10 Nintendo first-party RPGs or Nintendo exclusive RPGs of all time? Let me know in the comment section below. All right, guys, that wraps it up for this video here. Thank you so much for watching. I do appreciate it. Please make sure you hit that like button, subscribe if you're someone new, click that notification bell, and we will see you for the next video. Peace.